We are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Utility, Safety, and Environment Committee meeting. In light of all that has happened in our country today, I ask that you please join us in just a brief moment of silence for our country.
Amen.
Thank you all. So this evening, the first item on our agenda is the approval of the December 16th, 2020 Utilities Committee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on our agenda is the matter of updating the SDADA, which is the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System at the water pumping plant. Mr. Jacobs, please.
Well, the SCADA system is the computer
SCADA?
program, SCADA,
Okay,
SCADA.
okay,
This controls the whole water plant, the 2 water pump stations, and the water towers. I can bring it up at home. I can look at everything that's going on in the plant. If there's an emergency, the managers can bring it up and make a decision from home. The computers are located in all the offices in the plant, the operator's office, the lab, and throughout the plant, there's panels. So as the operators are walking around, they can check what's going on, or if an alarm goes off, they can see what's going on. The software and program are outdated and need to be updated. The computers are still running on Windows 7, and they can't be upgraded, and Microsoft doesn't support them anymore. So we're going to update the computers to a new Windows 10 compatible system, upgrade the software. The operators and some of the main SCADA computers are going to get updated, which our IT is buying the hardware and configuring the computers. Then the computers go to ProTech, and they'll put the SCADA software in and get them set up and bring them to the plant and hook them up. This proposal, I think Corey and Brian reviewed it, and we went back and forth with ProTech, the SCADA company, over what we were going to do as a city and what they were going to do. And it's something that we really need to do. We can't have this system go down because we use it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's also used for compliance data that we have to have for the EPA.
thank you, Mr. Jacob. This system sounds pretty necessary to me.
Yes.
And you're running Windows 7. That's really outdated.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jacob? Ms. Keys?
Through you, Madam Chairman, is there a price tag attached to this?
Yes, the price is $53,100, and they have state purchasing on it from ProTech.
And this is going to be paid out of the encumbered water funds.
Right. I talked to everyone in December, and we wanted to get it done sooner than later. So the auditor's office told me to encumber the money. Then if council passes it, we can get it done, the end of this month.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Are there any other questions? Seeing none.
Oh, through you, Madam Chair, I just note that the referral is requesting that this would be done as an emergency.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Deary. Seeing no further questions, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of updating the SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System at the water pumping plant. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to update the said system at water pumping plant. The cost to update this system is $53,100 from state purchasing and to be paid from encumbered water funds. This is requested to be passed as an emergency so that the project can begin ASAP. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Keys and second by Mrs. Davis. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. The next item on our agenda is the matter of entering into a contract for the purchase of chemicals for the wastewater pollution control plant for the year 2021 through 2022. Superintendent Corzine, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I'm looking at the referral that's attached to today's agenda, I see these are the chemicals for Sam Jacobs water plant. I did submit a referral to council for the wastewater chemicals. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about the right agenda item.
Oh, I see some.
The water plants were added on number 7.
The water plants are number 7. And Terry, I have.
Okay.
what I
Okay.
do
So you
not
do have my referral.
I do, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes, this is a matter of going out for bids for the 2021 to 2022 year for chemical purchases at the wastewater plant. This is something we do every year, hoping to get better prices on the chemicals. Once we obtain the bids, then we would be able to enter into contract for purchase for the next year.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Corzine? Ms. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair. So these bids are going out will affect 2022 versus 2021. I see that this is our current contract expires in April. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then the bids are going out for the following year.
Yeah, it'll be for May 1st through the end of April of 2022.
Okay.
So it'll be 2021 through 2022.
Two.
Mhm.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And again, as Mr. Corzine said, this is housekeeping. We do this every year. The chemicals are necessary for the smooth running of our water at the wastewater plant. Are there any other questions for Mr. Corzine? Seeing none, I'll read.
You got a question?
Yes, sir. Derek?
Through you, Madam Chair, when you go after those chemicals, are they similar to like when we buy our salt? Do you have to buy so much, or do you just get a price per gallon and then whatever you use? How does that work? Like, do we have to buy so much and then we have to take it no matter what?
Okay, that's a good question. Through you, Madam Chair. No, we get the price per gallon or price per pound or price per dry ton, and it's whatever we need for the year what we buy. We don't have to order a minimum.
Thank you.
Mr. Firestein, I saw your hand up. Do you have a question, sir?
No, I saw Councilman Oswald had his hand and was trying to help
Thank you.
get your attention. You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the annual contract for chemicals for the wastewater pollution control plant. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into contracts for the chemicals for the WWPC plant for the years 2021 through 2022. Mr. Corzine, did you want this as an emergency or not necessary?
I would defer to Law Director Deary. The contract doesn't end till April.
Okay, so I don't think we need it as an emergency. Ms. Deary?
Superintendent Corzine, when were you looking to go out for bids on this?
Usually we go out for bids at the beginning of March, and then we would be accepting the bids end of March.
So if this were to pass at the next council meeting under suspension of rules, it would be in effect before the end of February. So I think you would be in good shape.
But you do want on the referral suspension, under suspension of rules?
I think that would make sense. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Davis, I saw your hand up. Do you have a
Yes.
question?
Yes, I
ma'am.
do, Madam Chair. I see that, are you going to put an estimate cost in? When you was reading, I didn't hear an estimated cost, but I see one on my paper. So evidently he has some kind of idea because he has an estimated cost that for 1 year that it would cost.
Mrs. Deary, I'll defer to you.
We will be going out for bid on this, but I believe, and Superintendent Corzine, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just to give council an idea of what we have paid in years past.
Yes, those are the costs for the last contract year.
So we really won't have a cost until it goes out to bid.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes, that would be my understanding.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I'll accept the motion, please.
So move.
Second.
It was moved by Mr. Sarah and second by Mr. Keys. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on our agenda is the matter of purchasing a new Libre 37 cubic, say that again.
Libre.
Matter of purchasing a new Libre 37 cubic yard garbage truck through the state purchasing. Mr. Safety Service Director Brubaker, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is a sidewide loader garbage truck like we already have in the fleet. We did order one back in November with using sanitation funds. We're asking that this particular purchase be done by way of the issue 6 capital dollars. I did talk to Law Director Deary. It is an appropriate use to use these dollars. I've talked to the Finance Director's office. I've talked to Mr. Jesse, a couple other councilmen that are not necessarily on this, but may vote on it on finance if it passes here. The reason we're doing this now is we've already appropriated through the temporary appropriation. There is money in the temporary appropriation issue 6 to order this, and provided this committee sees fit to allow this and in finance next week, and then it passes full council on the Tuesday. We'd like to get this truck ordered because it is a 1-year delivery time. So we'll have and this is going to help alleviate dollars coming out of the sanitation fund. I think I had to do not exceed. I think there's even a quote with the referral of $354,000. So it won't be that. That quote is the good quote. And like I said, it'll take a year to get here. So we have one that's on order now. It'll be here in November. We'll have another one that will come in probably February of next year. This is what we'd like to do to help alleviate the cash flow within the sanitation department and to keep our capital fleet within the sanitation flow.
So
and I will say this does include a trade-in on one of our other trucks.
Okay. Okay. So our trucks are getting old and they're in desperate need of replacing at least those two, or because of the lag time, they will need replacing.
Yeah, you got to remember, we started this program in December of 2010. Mm-hmm. And other than the few trucks that we've ordered last couple of years, and we kind of didn't order anything last year because the sanitation fund was a little bit lower than we wanted it to be. You know, those trucks are now 10, going on 11, 12 years old. Their life expectancy is anywhere from 8 to 9 years. So we're trying to get a rotation so that we don't get stuck the way we did 10 years ago and have to spend $4 million to buy all new trucks.
Sure. Sure. Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Brubaker. Is there a possibility where these trucks could be leased, where we have to trade them in after 6 or 7 years, or is it not feasible for us?
We did discuss that several years ago, and the information we got is lease. These aren't your typical trucks that you can trade in every couple of years like you would a Ford Focus or a Ford Mustang, where these typically can't. It's not in our best interest financially to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are
And
there
I
any
will
other
throw this
questions?
out there. I will be coming back to the committee once the full budget is passed for a very similar thing to buy a rear loader. But that won't come up. I don't want to expend all of our temporary money until we get the full budget passed for the same reason. Right now, we're actually renting a rear loader for the month because we have a couple of them that are down in the shop. So that story for another day.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Brubaker?
And I would, if I could defer to the law director to have this as an emergency as well, so we can get this ordered when and if council sees fit to pass this.
Through Madam Chair, yes, I mean, we've passed legislation as an emergency in other similar situations where there's such a long lead time on the ordering of these types of specialized vehicles. I think that would be more than appropriate.
And I might add, I think I put this in the referral. It is under the state purchasing program, so we are getting the best price possible.
Thank you. Again, are there any additional questions for Mr. Brubaker? Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess this is directed towards Mr. Brubaker. I did happen to see in our area a funny looking truck, and that's when I'm like, who's picking up our garbage now? And called Rodney I, and that's when he had told me that we were renting because some of our trucks are down. So is that pretty costly to us? I would have to assume if we rent a vehicle like that for a while, to the point where if we can't keep these trucks fixed and on the road, then we get dinged. So maybe it is necessary to do what you're talking.
Yes, Madam Chairman, through you to Mr. Oswald. That is a truck. That is the truck that's being utilized right now because we had a couple of our trucks that went down with some transmission issues, as one of them also had a Packer issue. It's more expensive if we do it by the week than if we do it by the month. So we, on occasion, will rent one. I think the last time we had to do that was early last year, which was the same thing. It was a rear loader. So yes, it's costly, but it's cheaper to do it by the month than it is to do it by the week.
Thank you.
And I'm sure if it wasn't necessary to rent them, we would not be doing so. Any other questions, comments? If not, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a purchase of a new automated garbage truck. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to authorize the purchase of a new garbage truck through state purchasing and best equipment. Purchase price is not to exceed $352,000, and funds will be allocated from the temporary issue 6 capital funds. This is to be passed as an emergency. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Davis and second by Mrs. Keys. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on our agenda is the matter of the purchase of 2 each 64-space columbariums for Brookdale Cemetery. Safety Service, Brubaker, please.
All right, I'm going to try to share my screen here and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
See my screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Very good.
Let's see if it moves for me. It don't look like it's going to move. So what you're seeing here is one of 2 of the columbariums that we currently have at Brookdale. This is a 32. This is the newest one. This was put in about a year and a half ago. This is what we call the Angels Columbarium. It's the first one on your left as you come into Brookdale. It holds 32 urns. It could hold 64. You can put a husband and wife or 2 children or something, small urns in there, but there are 32 spaces there. That columbarium, just since I took over the cemetery, we sold about 18 of those. And we currently have one space left. We have another one that's out there. Unfortunately, I can't scroll down to show it to you. Wait, maybe I can. Hold on a second here. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
This is, Corey's going to laugh at me, but this is the oldest one that we have. This is actually a circular one. So it goes all the way around. And that is what we call the praying hands columbarium. That one is completely full as well. What I'm looking to do is, using issue 6 capital dollars, is I would like to purchase 2 64, which the square one that I just showed you has 32 that face the road. The ones I'd like to buy, this used to be, what you're seeing there is where a tree used to be. And unfortunately, you can't see the stakes, but we would put 2 64 each space columbariums right there. Each one would have 32 facing the road, and each one would have 32 facing the brook. I get a lot of questions about, hey, do you have any spaces near the brook? We don't have any full spaces, but this would help accommodate families that want spaces that look at the brook or face the brook itself. It will be landscaped, and built into this cost is a pad. You have to put a pad in there for the foundation, and then there'll be a walkway put up to it, and then surrounded, and there'll be an area that we can also add a bench to that on both sides. The columbariums themselves are about $8,000 a piece, and then there's a 25% tariff that's added to each one of those. I just got the quote today for the foundation and all the walkway stuff. The $40,000, we will be under that dollar amount, and it gives me a little bit of money for some landscaping. Now, I will say this, that usually what happens is people will purchase those top 2 layers first. I don't know why. People just want to be on top. We currently, and we shouldn't, but we have in the past, we've allowed folks to reserve spaces for up to a year. We are not going to allow the reservation of spaces, simply because people will come out and they will reserve spaces, and those will go very quickly. I'd rather have them available for people that want to purchase them for their family members. So we won't have, that's really not something for council, but I just want to let you know we won't be taking reservations for them. There is a significant, we will spend about $40,000 on this. Our average columbarium space is about $1,450. If you're on the top level, it's $10 more, and then $10 less to go to level B, and then $10 less C, and then the lower level is $10 less. It averages about $1,400 a space. If you take those 128 spaces and times them by $1,400, you're in the neighborhood of $190,000 of revenue that will be generated. Now, obviously, those won't be sold all at one time, but it will generate revenue over a time frame. I also want to throw out there that there's a very similar one of these columbariums that was put up last spring out at Ridgelawn Cemetery. There used to be a building out there, and we took that down, and Mr. Given had a columbarium. Because it got put up so soon, and then we had the COVID thing, we haven't marketed that well, but I think once we start to market the Ridgelawn one, people want to be, old-time residents want to be buried there, and that's a way to do that. The reason it's coming to the committee is because I would like to use issue 6 capital dollars. And again, I have talked to the finance director about this. This is something that can be used. I do not need to pass it as an emergency because we would have to do the foundation first, and that may not happen until the weather breaks, and then they will not deliver these until we have the foundation in place. That's what I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Brubaker. And I imagine cremation is becoming more and more popular. And I imagine that there is a need for them. Are there any questions?
Yeah, cremations were about 50% of what we did this year, and a lot of them within the last 6 months.
I'm sure. I am sure. Are there any questions at all, Ms. Davis?
And through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Brubaker. So these columbariums come in, they are already put together, and all you have to do is just to set it on the foundation, and voila, we go off, huh?
Yes, ma'am. They come in, we get a crane, they set them in place, and we are ready to sell. part of the cost to purchase this is the engraving, and on the picture you're seeing where they're engraved.
Yes.
This is all inclusive. When they buy that space, the
They
only
have-
thing that they pay for at the time of service is what we call the opening and closing, which is $100. And that's to take the plate off of it and put the urn in it and then put the plate back on. We have the keys to the plates. So nobody can I mean, I guess you could take a sledgehammer and get in there like you can anything, but nobody gets a key to that. We have that. But yes, once it's set, we can sell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Brubaker? This is kind of a sad conversation to be having right now. So I will read, seeing that there are no comments or questions, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the purchase of two 64-space columbariums for Brookdale Cemetery. And this is an ordinance authorizing the purchase for said columbariums in the amount not to exceed $40,000, funds to be allocated from issue 6 capital temporary budget. Can I get a motion, please?
So
So-
moved, Madam Chair.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
So moved by Mr. Sarah, second by Mrs. Keys. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on our agenda is the matter of entering into an agreement for professional design services for plans and specifications for the Cleveland Street resurfacing project. Mr. Schneider, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As you know, the city has received state funds, or I should say federal funds, safety funds, as well as NOACA funds, to not only resurface Cleveland Street, but to perform a road diet, upgrade traffic signals, things of that nature. We've received a total of roughly $5.3 million from the safety and NOACA funds combined. City's portion will have to be $1.5 million. It's broken out and depending on the different items of the project. Safety funds are a 90-10 split. NOACA funds are an 80-20 split. But usually when you have engineering costs, usually those are 100% local costs. Fortunately, we were able to, as part of the safety funds, when we secured them, we were able to use those for the design as well. I'm not, right now, we have a $880,000 estimate for the design cost. I know that sounds high, and that's unfortunately when we do accept federal funds. They do require a lot more hoops to jump through, things like additional environmental services, right away, which is really a big portion of the project is securing right away. As part of that project, we have to go through all these. The project, actually, I believe I've discussed it before. It's a road diet from Hawthorne all the way up to East Bridge Street on Cleveland Street. East Bridge Street will also have a road diet all the way up to East Broad. We have discussed with ODOT about adding on another portion of Broad Street from East Bridge to Cedar Street because of the traffic lights and the timing that will be involved in those. So as part of this, that whole entire area will be included. Currently, we're estimating a sell date of 2022, late 2022, unfortunately. The project won't happen for another 2 years roughly, but we need to get the design. And luckily, like I said, we have 90% of it being paid for by safety funds. So our portion is only going to be about $880,000, but we have to appropriate the total amount, which will be the whole $880,000. I do ask that it be passed under suspension of the rules and declared an emergency because we're kind of behind the 8 ball on the whole process. Some of the funds you get from federal funds, they come with a pretty tight timeline sometimes, and so we're behind the 8 ball a little bit on this, but we're working with ODOT about getting that, and they've been very accommodating to the city as far as flexibility so far, but we want to make sure we have it on the project ready to go when according to our timeline with them right now. So I don't know, I hope I didn't confuse anybody on this, but I guess any questions?
Mr. Snyder, so when this work does happen, will they replace the curbs and the aprons? Will there be new gutters? Is there going to be sewer work taking place?
The plan is one, to replace the water main, which will come later on as well. That'll be a separate project as far as construction wise, because we are responsible for 100% of that cost.
That'll be done before the road gets
Correct.
done.
Yeah, that'll be done before the road. As far as sewer, we're hoping to line this up with the whole east side relief sewer when it comes to the area as well. That's one of the challenges as far as timeline as well. So we need to have this ready to go and work in conjunction with that. Even if we have to, because this is going to require probably a 18 to 24 month to complete this project. So part of this will fall in 1 year and another part of it will fall in the next year. The first portion would be from Hawthorne Street on Cleveland Street up to Gulf Road, and then it would progress after that for the second year is the plan. Okay. Because of the sewer, so it would give us more time to get that sewer done. The plan is to do as much curb, as much aprons, even sidewalk as possible, that the whole $5.3 million plus our fund, our contribution, which is another 1.5 million, will handle. We still need to pay for, as well as part of this will be the construction services as far as the engineering, inspection, and management of the project, which safety funds can be used, I believe, for part of that. But no matter what, we do have a share of $1.5 million in this, and it's one of the reasons why we've kind of been holding on some of the muni motor vehicle fund, because we are going to have a large portion into this project, and we have East Broad Street right around the corner also, as far as the project goes. So we have two large projects that are going to require a lot of city funds. So, but no, the intent is to do a lot more than just mill and fill the road. It will have hopefully new curbs. The road diet itself will have bike lanes out there. We're trying to accommodate bike lanes out there. There's a number of curbs out there that we'd like to replace. So yes, it will be more than just your simple mill and fill.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sarah.
Through you, Madam Chair. Now, is there still going to be a roundabout at Cleveland Street and East Bridge?
No.
That was talked about in the past?
That was removed because of the amount of right of way that was going to be required to build it. It could have possibly have taken, we might have to have taken some of the properties. So whether it would be Walgreens or BP or the old Decker building on the other side of the street, it would have been cost prohibitive to put a roundabout in there. And not to mention, it would have been a tight roundabout at that. So the last thing you want to do is build a roundabout that's going to be a challenge to begin with.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Snyder?
Oh, I do.
Miss Davis.
Yes. Am I muted or not? Oh,
no,
through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snyder, the bridge. So I see that it's going to run from Cleveland Street to Broad Street. So are they going to? Well, are you going to make sure that the railroad tracks, the part of the tracks that looks so bad, are they going to modernize that, or
we don't own the tracks?
Unfortunately, that's owned by the right of way.
Yeah, we don't own the tracks.
I know, but going under there, when you go, just to keep it, to have a repair, because some of the wall is like coming down and people just write on it, and we have nothing to do with that concrete.
Unfortunately, we can't touch that without the railroad's permission.
It's not ours. Yeah. And through you, Mr. Snyder, I know that we have reached out to the railroads many times asking, can they fix it? Can we fix it? And we can't. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, it's been documented that we've tried to get a hold of them, and reluctantly they have not done much for it.
Mrs. Keys.
Kind of to dovetail onto what Ms. Davis said through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Snyder, the sidewalk underneath that railroad trestle, will that issue be addressed? Because today I saw somebody literally walking in the street because the sidewalk was covered with mud and water, and he was toting a suitcase behind him. I mean, so can we even touch that sidewalk underneath there?
We can clean it for them, but as far as reconstructing it, we still need their permission. Any digging around a railroad trestle or within their right of way, they need to be involved with.
Mr. Snyder, would it be possible to send another letter or reach out to them and just say, hey, can you clean your mess up?
We can do that. They might, I mean, we will, maybe it's more of a, can we clean your mess up?
Yeah, sure.
And see what they have to say. It's definitely a conversation we can have.
Absolutely, let's do that. I think we should at least try.
Yeah.
At least try.
Y'all got the point. Oh, good.
We got it. Are there any other questions from committee members? Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair, this is questions directed toward Mr. Snyder. There were, of course, been thrown out a lot of ideas of what's going to happen with that road. At this time, can you say that they're thinking about 2 lanes with the center turning? And then we heard that, of course, if we put a bike lane in, we get some extra money. Can you further on any of those questions with answers, or is that all in the development stage still? Thank you.
As far as a large portion of it will have a road diet for sure. That's a given, because that's how the funds we receive require that. We applied for safety funds under the premise that we were going to do a road diet out there to take care of some of the accidents that happen. And one way to take care of accidents is to create a road diet from 4 to 3. It's viewed as safer way of traveling because you're not trying to pass people all the time and you have more side-to-side collisions. The intent is, yes, same thing we did over on Cleveland Street over there by Burger King and Taco Bell by Ridgeville. It will have one-way traffic each way, a 2-way left turn lane in the center. And the only difference was we're going to try to put a 5-foot bike lane on the outside because we have, the existing road is 40-foot wide. So if we go with 10-foot lanes and 2 5-foot bike paths, we could do that. Now with that, there will be some, we'll have to take care of some catch basins and move those out of the roadway and put them behind the sidewalk if we can. That's part of the challenges we have because the gas main could be right there, or another, maybe the water main or electrical or right behind the curb. So it could be a challenge because you can't have catch basins in the road for bikes to ride over, because a lot of times they see them, they like to go around them, and that could push them out in the traffic. So now there aren't a lot of catch basins on Cleveland Street because it's a ridge, but so that's kind of the intent of what we're looking to do. East Bridge Street will be essentially the same way. It'll be a 2-way, 1 lane each direction, center turn lane, and the bike lanes on the outside, if possible.
So as far as what you can see right now with the width, can you do all that without breaking into the right of way, or do you think it's going to end up taking some of the right of way?
That's what the design is going to have to tell us. I don't know at this time because of, is it exactly 40 foot here, and does it shrink? I don't know how the curbs are all poured out there. Does it shrink down to 39? A lot of the curbing will be replaced, so it shouldn't be an issue. But the bigger issue is utilities, if they are in the way, than anything else. So that's part of the design we're going to have to determine still.
Well, I think the businesses are going to love that. They've been waiting for this. It's going to be nice to have a few nice thoroughfares. Broad Street's going to be eventually done. Cleveland Street's going to be done. That's going to be a great asset for the city. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a professional service agreement with the for the design of the Cleveland Street and East Bridge Street project. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for professional design services with Trans Systems Corporation for said project. The amount of the design service for this project is not to exceed $880,000, 90% to be paid from the federal safety funds and 10% to be paid from Muni Motor Vehicle local funds. This will be passed under suspension of rules and declared an emergency. May I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Sarah and second by Mrs. Keys. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The last item on our agenda is the matter of entering into a contract for the purchase of chemicals for the water pumping plant for the years 2021 through 2022. Mr. Jacobs, please.
Yes, through the chair. This is similar to a wastewater, Mr. Corzan's proposal. This is a yearly bid we do for chemicals used at the water plant. And it goes from, I believe, May 1st to May 1st. So this is what we figured out we might use at the water plant. And everything, the amount we use is dependent on the weather and how dirty or clean the water is coming in the water plant.
Okay. And so the final price, we won't know until you know what you need.
Right. The final price, you'll award the contract based on, like for chlorine, 90 tons, but what we're going to use all depend on what we need during the year.
Right. Understood. Are there any questions for Mr. Jacobs?
Just through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jacob, if you could actually send me, I have the referral that was an email, but I don't have the actual attachment that lists the chemicals. What I do have is the ordinance from last year, but it appears to be the wastewater list. And so I don't believe that your chemicals are exactly the same chemicals and in the same quantity that wastewater uses.
Totally
So
different.
get that to me within the next day or so.
Okay, if I can do it from home, I'll email them to you as soon as we're done. If not, I'll do it first thing in the morning.
Perfect. That way we can get your legislation going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Is there anything else? Any questions? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the annual contract for chemicals for the water pumping plant. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and to enter into contracts for chemicals for the water pumping plant for the year 2021 through 2022. May I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Davis, second by Mr. Sarah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There is no other business to come before this committee. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
I make
moved.
a motion that we adjourn.
It was moved by Mrs. Keys, second by Mr. Sarah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.